We're joined by the extremely talented and up-and-coming singer and songwriter, Miss Faith Alexa. Faith, thanks for taking the time to talk to us today.
Hey, thank you so much for having me on.
So you have the absolute coolest story ever. So for the people that don't know you very well, kind of give us that quick summary of who you are and kind of what you do.
Yeah, well, my name is Faith Alexa. Alexa is my middle name. My last name is Herman, and my dad is Coach Brian Herman. He's a Texas high school football coach, and so my whole life, grew up being football coach's daughter. And I don't know, people ask me where I'm from, and I kind of just say Texas because I don't really have a hometown. Because if you know anything about Texas high school football, you don't really stay in one place for too long. If you get really lucky, you do. But growing up, I went to three different schools throughout, my childhood and through graduating high school. And actually, my senior year, right before I graduated, my dad accepted the head football coaching position at Marble Falls High School. So that's four towns that my family has lived in because of his career and everything. And I don't know, I tell people that my life is like Friday Night Lights, the TV show. And everyone thinks I'm joking, but I'm like, it's pretty accurate. It's pretty accurate. But yeah, that's a
Absolutely.
little bit about me.
And we'll get to the coach's daughter thing in a second, because that ties perfectly into what Women Talking Football is all about. But you're also a singer slash songwriter. So talk to us a little bit about how you got into that, when you started singing, and how your career is going right now.
Yeah, absolutely. I have been singing and performing ever since I can remember. There are stories about me, from before I even could form memories myself, 2, 3 years old. Just I'm babbling, but I'm definitely performing for everyone in the living room. And my parents say that they just knew that I had that, I don't know, kind of makeup of a performer from kind of the second that I figured out how to move my body and, and talk. I was singing before I could talk. My parents are huge country music fans, and so that's where it comes from. They played country music all the time in the house, in the car, like everywhere we were, it was country music. And growing up in Texas, you can't really escape that either. But yeah, I started. So I was singing the national anthem at football games and school programs. By the time I was like 7 or 8, I started writing when I was about 8 years old. And I'm going to say writing loosely. I'm a huge Taylor Swift fan. I still am. But I was introduced to her as a 5-year-old, 6-year-old. And so once I realized that she wrote her own songs, I was like, I want to do that too. If that's what Taylor Swift is doing, and Faith Hill and Shania Twain, and all these people that I really, really looked up to because of my parents and their love for country music. I was like, well, if that's what they do, and that's how they get to be on CDs that are playing in my CD player in my childhood bedroom, then like that's what I'll do. My dad's job has a huge plays a huge part in, I think, why I turned so much to songwriting. And also my sister, in 2013, she was hospitalized and was diagnosed with a chronic illness. And as a 12-year-old, you don't really know how to go through all these emotions of like making the first move, because we moved when I was 10. And then 2 years later, go through all these really, really tough times, and you're such a young kid and everything. And so I turned to songwriting, and it truly like has been the thing that has stuck with me the most. Like my life, it's changing all the time, where we're at, where we're living, who we're around, everything. And songwriting was the one thing that kind of was there for me all the time.
Well, and it's cool now because obviously you're living in Nashville. You blessed us with your presence at the Hill Country Coaching Clinic down in Fredericksburg. We got to see you perform, and we're like, man, this girl's really, really good, really talented. But you talk about songwriting being such a fundamental part of who you are, and really been the thing to push you to pursue this as a professional career. You tell us about Somebody New. We know that you wrote that. What is that album like? And where did that inspiration come from?
Yeah, so Somebody New, when I moved to Nashville, I really felt like my life was coming together. Growing up in the way that I did was amazing. I don't have any complaints. I'm very lucky. But when I moved to Nashville, I was able to kind of pursue music for the first time seriously. Growing up, I was, an athlete and an A+ student, and I think there were a lot of expectations being, the coach's daughter, as people like to call me. But going to Nashville, I was able to be Faith. I was able to be Faith Alexa, and it was kind of life-changing a little bit. I realized, oh my gosh, I have my own identity and I can pursue music like fully. There's nothing else. Obviously, I'm in school, so school's important, but music was able to really be number one for the first time ever. So Somebody New is about kind of coming into my own skin and being able to grow. And I think the ages 18 to, I guess it was 18 and 19 when I was writing my Somebody New EP. And those are very formative years. And I don't think I realized that. I kind of thought those formative years were done and like, woohoo, college. But I was like, oh my gosh, I'm actually figuring out who I am and who I'm supposed to be. And so Somebody New is definitely about self-discovery and acceptance and loving life and being okay with where you're at.
Well, we actually got to hear you perform a little bit at the Hill Country Coaching Clinic at one of the events. And your dad, Coach Herman, was standing kind of on the sidelines a little bit, and he just looked like the proudest dad in the entire world. So I'm curious, when he's watching you perform or wherever you are, listening to you practice, does he have a little bit of those coaching tendencies come out in him? Is he like, oh yeah, go Alex, Faith, what is he like?
Yeah, he, has been coached my whole life, right? He has coached basketball teams that I've been on, and I think that when it comes to my music, I think he's able to be dad and he's able to be a fan, which has been really cool because I love his coaching side. I am his biggest fan, but it's cool to see the roles kind of reverse, and him be my, one of my biggest fans. And he definitely still does the like pep talk thing. He definitely still, like I told him before this morning, I said, I've got the podcast today, I'm kind of nervous. And he was like, just be you, you'll do great. He like goes into coach and like, I don't know, coach and dad mode are kind of the same, I feel like. So, but yeah, it's really cool to, have him be such a big supporter because he definitely does have the you got this.
Well, we also met Mom while we were down there as well, and we know that she was just as proud taking videos and all of that. How often are they able to come to your gigs? I know you play some in Texas, obviously, and then a lot in Nashville. Has there been a good mix of them being able to get out there? Probably not in the football season, but maybe in the off season a little bit.
Yeah, no, they are so great. Any chance that they have to come watch me perform, they're here. I had my first like headlining show in November, and my dad wasn't able to make it because I think it was a Friday night.
Football season.
Football season, can't do that. But my mom came, which is huge because she doesn't miss a Friday night game for my dad. I had a show in May where I opened up for one of my friends, Mara Strepa, and both my parents came to that one. They're so supportive. It's really cool to see the shift from like playing sports my whole life and then being at every single game and, picking me up from every single practice. And that's just kind of something supportive parents do, right? So I think I definitely took that for granted, but seeing it change over to them being so supportive of my career, they've always been supportive of me singing and performing and writing songs, but watching them, travel the miles halfway across the country to come see a show that to me, I'm like, yeah, I mean, this is great, but I'm not playing Bridgestone Arena. I'm not playing the Moody Center. So it's not really a huge deal, but to them it is. And them being there for me is a huge deal. So they're the best. I couldn't do what I do without them.
Yeah, and before we let you go too, we want to ask, where can people listen to your music? Obviously, sometimes it's hard to get out to the shows, but if they want to listen just any time of the day, where can they find you?
Absolutely. I'm on every single streaming platform. So Spotify, Apple Music. If you don't use either of those, and you can look me up on YouTube. I have links on my Instagram and my TikTok, and it's just Faith Alexa. I think if you just Google Faith Alexa, it should all pop up for you kind of on one page. But yeah, everywhere you listen to music, that's where I'll be.
Absolutely. Well, Faith, we really appreciate you taking the time out of your crazy and busy schedule to sit down and talk to us. We wish you seriously nothing but the best in your music career, and hopefully we can come see you in Beaumont soon.
Thank you so much. Yes, please come out to Beaumont. I'm very excited for that one. But thank you so much for having me on.
Tell me that I can and I'll show you things that you could